We have a lot of good next generation Democrats that are for crypto. Look at the voting records of people, Fit 21 who voted for it. Look at SAB 121 who voted to overturn it. Look at people's crypto and blockchain platforms and ask them the difficult questions and judge us based on our platforms on this. And I do think, and I'm hopeful that the Democratic Party at the convention will take a turn and reject the hostile policies of the past.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Unchained, your no-hype resource for all things crypto. I'm your host, Laura Shin, author of The Cryptopians. I started covering crypto 9 years ago, and as a senior editor at Forbes, was the first mainstream media reporter to cover cryptocurrency full-time. This is the July 26th, 2024 episode of Unchained. Polkadot is the original and leading Layer 0 blockchain with over 2,000 plus developers. And the Polkadot 2.0 upgrade will be a massive accelerator for the ecosystem. Join the community at polkadot.network/ecosystem/community. With iTrust Capital, you can buy and sell crypto in a tax-advantaged retirement account. Enjoy significant tax advantages, 24/7 access, and the industry's lowest fees. Video accounts for over half of total internet traffic. PlayFi's protocol turns content into data with cutting-edge AI and blockchain. Learn more at playfi.ai. Today's guest is Congressman Ro Khanna. Welcome, Representative Khanna.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
The crypto community has suffered unfairly under the Biden administration. For example, various judges have found that the SEC, in its dealings with crypto companies, has acted, quote, arbitrarily and capriciously, in the words of one panel of judges, and has perpetrated, quote, a gross abuse of power, in the words of another judge. There's also been Operation Chokepoint 2.0, which aimed to either shut down banks that service crypto companies or to keep crypto companies from being able to bank at all. And as an example of that, Barney Frank, one of the co-authors of the Dodd-Frank Act, said that the closing of Signature Bank happened because, quote, regulators wanted to send a very strong anti-crypto message. So this election cycle, we've seen numerous members of the crypto community come out in support of Trump, including people who have previously been solidly Democrat or Biden supporters. And I understand it's only been a few days since it looks as though Vice President Kamala Harris will become the Democratic nominee. But I wondered what you had to say to the crypto community about how it could expect to be treated under a potential Harris administration or just even broadly by the Democratic Party going forward.
Well, I'm working very hard to change the policy. I voted and worked with Patrick McHenry on Fit 21 to make sure that we have the CFTC do regulation and the SEC, but a more balanced approach. And I led to get over 70 Democrats to vote for that bill and worked closely with Patrick McHenry. I also voted to overturn the president's veto on SAB 121 because banks should be able to hold cryptocurrency without declaring them as liabilities. And third, I convened a roundtable with Anita Dunn, the senior policy advisor for President Biden, and with Marc Cuban and Mike Novogratz and those at Andreessen, Horowitz, and other technology companies. And I'm now working with them to have a follow-up discussion, including with the vice president's office. So we are going to make a case that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies more generally are decentralizing, are helping make payments faster and cheaper, and that we need to be the party of decentralization and innovation.
And do you get a sense yet of how the Biden camp is, what their stance is on that?
I think they're open to listening to the next generation of Democrats. I'm going, as you know, to Nashville to be the keynote speaker for Democrats at the Bitcoin conference. Donald Trump will be there, Vivek Ramaswamy. I think I'm one of the only Democrats going. But I think that is the important for our party to be on the right side of this issue. And people like me, Jake Auchincloss, Richie Torres, Darren Soto, we're making the case that this shouldn't be a partisan issue.
And so for that roundtable that you held in DC, what are some substantive changes that you think the crypto community can expect to come out of that meeting?
Well, one, we had so many Democrats cross the aisle to vote for Patrick McHenry's bill. And then after that, we had many Democrats cross the aisle to overturn the president's veto on SAB 121. I think almost 24 Democrats did that. And so you're seeing a new generation be more pro keeping innovation, blockchain, Bitcoin in the United States. And that is incredibly important.
So, as we alluded to earlier, Marc Andreessen and Ben Horowitz recently did a podcast where they talked about how the Democratic Party has kind of stomped on what they call little tech. And by that, they really mean crypto in terms of the way that crypto can take on big tech by decentralizing a lot of different internet products and services. And they said that the Democratic Party, drove them away. They called it self sabotage. And that's how they ended up in deciding to endorse Trump. So I believe there are voters in or at least near your district. And I wondered, what would be your pitch to them or to any other crypto voters who are typically Democrats who are now planning to vote for Trump this time around?
Well, I would say that we're pushing to get crypto in the Democratic platform. So hear us out at the Democratic convention. We have a lot of good next generation Democrats that are for crypto. Look at the voting records of people, Fit 21 who voted for it. Look at SAB 121 who voted to overturn it. Look at people's crypto and blockchain platforms and ask them the difficult questions and judge us based on our platforms on this. And I do think, and I'm hopeful that the Democratic Party at the convention will take a turn and reject the hostile policies of the past.
So the Republican crypto platform says, quote, Republicans will end Democrats' unlawful and un-American crypto crackdown and oppose the creation of a central bank digital currency. We will defend the right to mine Bitcoin and ensure every American has the right to self-custody their digital assets and transact free from government surveillance and control. Are there any parts of that you disagree with? And what parts do you agree with? And what parts would you like to see in the Democratic crypto platform?
Well, I think we need to be for the crypto work being done here, the mining being done here. You can have a lot of clean energy to do that mining. And we want to make sure that we're leading in the crypto industry and the Bitcoin industry, and that we're doing that here. I also think that we want to make sure that we have the openness to having Bitcoin as part of the Federal Reserve and as a reserve asset because of its potential for appreciation and because of its potential to allow America to set the financial standards.
And so you said that you and other Democrats are working on the crypto platform. What particular aspects would you like to see in the Democratic crypto plank?
One, that we want these industries in the United States. Two, that there's got to be fair banking. You can't discriminate against crypto companies or people who are invested in the crypto space. Three, that banks should be able to hold their assets. Four, that we need clear delineation of the rules between the SEC and CFTC. And five, that like I said, that we should explore having Bitcoin as some part of a reserve asset.
Okay. And what are the chances that you do think that will become part of the Democratic Party platform?
I'm pushing hard. We'll see by August.
Okay. So let's say that in a future Harris administration, perhaps Gary Gensler would not remain chair, or I don't know. What do you think? Do you think he would remain chair of the SEC?
I think she would appoint someone else who had the consensus of different consumer groups, industry groups, someone who comes with a clean slate.
Okay. And do you have anybody in mind who you'd like to see as chair of the SEC under Harris?
I don't. But I think that there has to be someone who every group can agree on. The consumer groups, industry groups. I mean, so that there's someone who's fair and is not seen as using the agency power just to go after any industry.
So, as I mentioned earlier, Operation Choke Point was another point of contention from the crypto community. And Biden recently nominated Christy Goldsmith Romero to be chair of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, which is a key banking regulator. She has a record of saying things that are not super positive about crypto. For instance, she said, quote, "One word should guide the federal government's approach to crypto. That word is risk." And generally, her comments about crypto tend to express concern about traditional finance, integrating crypto, things like pension funds investing in crypto, et cetera. What do you think of that potential pick to head up the FDIC as it pertains to crypto?
I have concerns. I mean, those concerns were raised with Anita Dunn at the roundtable and with Kirsten Gillibrand. I definitely have concerns about that. And I think she would have to, at the very least, clarify that she's going to be fair on crypto and Bitcoin and not block the banks from holding those assets in ways that are discriminatory.
You know, as you mentioned earlier, you were one of the Democrats who crossed party lines to vote for the Financial Innovation and Technology for the 21st Century Act, FIT 21. What has been the conversation like within the Democratic Party, or at least this pro crypto wing of it, like from your stance, are looking out at, what the party generally is doing. How is the conversation with other members of the Democratic Party? Is it hard to persuade them? Do they not get it? Are they just obstinate, or are these conversations not happening?
They're happening. I think the next generation, younger generation of Democrats get it. The Joe Negus's, Richie Torres, Jonathan Jackson's. But I think there's an older generation that has a very negative view for whatever reason, and it takes persuasion that this is something that's going to make it easier for people to be banked. It's going to make it easier for them to transfer money. It's going to make it easier for them to have tokens in a company that allows them to have some kind of ownership. It's going to make it easier for people to vote on how collective money should be used. And it is decentralizing finance. So when you make the argument, people are open-minded, but it takes making an affirmative case.
And do you have a sense of why it is that Biden decided to veto the overruling of SAB 121 that the Senate had voted for?
I think he defers very much to his agencies. He's an institutionalist, and typically I do too. I think this is the first time I've ever voted to overrule a Democratic agency because I have a lot of respect for the agencies, but I just didn't think that rule made sense. I mean, how do you say that an asset that you need to declare every Bitcoin, every crypto asset by a bank as a liability when they have a certain value, and we don't do that for any other asset class?
And so you clearly, don't seem to be a super fan of what the SEC has done in terms of the crypto industry. And we recently saw the overturning of the Chevron doctrine by the Supreme Court, which generally I have understood Republicans to be more in favor of this than Democrats. But I wondered what you thought of this ruling. Do you think that's a positive thing or negative thing? And what do you think it means for the crypto industry?
Well, I think it's a very negative thing, and that's one of the reasons I was hesitant to vote to overturn SAB 121, but I did because it was such a bad decision. But in general, I mean, gutting agencies will mean that we have less protection for our air, less protection for our clean water, less protection for drugs being safe at the FDA. And I think you need agencies and expertise in agencies to keep the American people safe, to stand up for labor, stand up for environment. Obviously, the gutting of agencies may create initially some more breathing room for entrepreneurs, but I don't think long run that's good even for the industry, because what we want are predictable laws.
But for crypto, what do you think it means?
Well, I think it probably means that that agencies will have a bit less power, but I think that the concern with the agencies is that they're often there are no clear guidelines, and that's something that Congress needs to provide, which is clear guidelines. Otherwise, you still could have lawsuits, and yeah, fine. Maybe ultimately they would be thrown out by the Supreme Court or appellate courts. But what company wants to go through being sued by agencies?
Okay. So ever since the end of the initial coin offering craze, we've seen that token teams just have really not wanted to issue or even airdrop tokens to users in the US, which is a point of contention in the crypto community. What do you think would be the ideal way for new tokens to launch in the US or be issued to users?
Well, I think this is where we need FIT21 to pass the Senate and be implemented, because if it is, then the SEC and the CFTC would have to come out with guidelines on how to do that. And right now, there's been a lot of freezing of activity because of regulatory uncertainty.
All right. So you're speaking at the Bitcoin conference this weekend. Can you give us a preview of your remarks?
I'm going to talk about why Bitcoin matters. I mean, why Bitcoin matters in terms of allowing cheaper transactions, allowing overseas transactions, being an asset class that's going to appreciate, having America lead in such an asset class so that we are making the rules, making sure that we are open to it being an asset for the United States. Bitcoin being easier to store than gold, and not having the same costs, and it obviously not being subject overseas to inflationary pressures. So there are a lot of positives to Bitcoin and long-term appreciation, and I'll be making those points.
As you probably have heard, the crypto community has had some internal fighting about whether or not they should be single issue voters. And as we've discussed, Trump has embraced a pro crypto platform. He's speaking at the Bitcoin conference this weekend. As you mentioned, you're the only Democrat. All the others tend to either lean Republican or be more in that camp. He's also selected JD Vance, who's a Bitcoiner, a former venture capitalist, as his vice president. And I wondered what you would say to voters who have already decided they're going to vote for Trump, to think about sort of or how you would think about the broader context around that vote and how that could affect the crypto industry.
Well, look, I still think there are fundamental issues in this country: abortion rights, voting rights, immigration, climate. And I respect how anyone votes, but I would just urge them to look at the complete picture, and then to know that I admit that the Democratic Party has not been as good on crypto, but people like me and the young generation are pro crypto. You do have people understand it, and ultimately, I hope this can be a issue that transcends partisanship, and that we have people supportive of it on both sides. I mean, who would be against semiconductors or against AI in a blanket way? That crypto and Bitcoin are just technologies, and let's have sensible regulation to use the technology for good while protecting consumers. But it makes no sense to say we're the anti-crypto party when you're talking about just a technology.
Last quick question before you go. Some people are saying that there is potential that we'll see a crypto bill that gets passed before the election or before the year's end. What do you think that might be, and what do you think the odds are of that?
I'm hoping it's FIT 21 and McHenry's bill. It's passed the House. It's time for the Senate to pass it. It would make such a big difference in regulatory clarity. And it also, in part of the provision, overturns SAB 121. So we have the bill. We need the Senate to act. And then I think having some regulations on and predictability on stable coins would be good as well.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Congressman Khanna.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Yes, enjoy the conference. Don't forget, next up is the weekly news recap, today presented by WannaCraft AI. Stick around for This Week in Crypto after this short break. PlayFi uses cutting-edge AI and blockchain technology to transform content into real-time data. Their AI agents watch games, live streams, sports, and more, converting terabytes of video into actionable on-chain data, helping studios, brands, and creators find new ways to engage and monetize whatever the world is watching and playing. Discover more about PlayFi's upcoming node license sale, launching the world's first decentralized network for mass market content. Visit playfi.ai to learn more. Did you know you can buy and sell crypto with tax benefits in an individual retirement account or IRA? iTrust Capital makes this possible. But what does this mean? When you buy crypto outside an IRA, like on an exchange, you face taxes on gains. But in a Roth IRA, gains would be tax-free. iTrust Capital also has the lowest fees in the industry and 24/7 accessibility. Start now and maximize your retirement savings with iTrust Capital. Polkadot is the original and largest Layer 0 blockchain with over 2,000 plus developers. The anticipated Polkadot 2.0 upgrade will be a massive accelerator for the ecosystem, upgrading the infrastructure with 8 times higher transaction throughput and twice as fast block times, tailored core time for the needs of every protocol, trustless bridges to multiple chains, and revised tokenomics with a token burn to reduce inflation. Perfect for GameFi and DeFi to build, grow, and scale. Get your Web3 ideas to market fast. Think big, build bigger with Polkadot. Join the community at polkadot.network/ecosystem/community.
Welcome to this week's Crypto Roundup. In today's recap, we cover the SEC's approval of spot Ether ETFs and their significant market impact, Kraken's distribution of Mt. Gox Bitcoin to creditors after a decade, the launch of a documentary on Ethereum co-founder Vitalik Buterin, DIDX's plans to sell its derivatives trading software, Swan Bitcoin's cancellation of its IPO and closure of its mining unit, BlockFi's completion of FTX creditor distributions, Jito Foundation's release of an open-source restaking service for Solana, and a surge in AVA's price following a new governance proposal. Thanks for tuning in to the weekly news recap. Let's begin. CC approves spot Ether ETFs. Trading begins with high activity. On Monday, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission gave its final approval for several spot Ether exchange-traded funds, setting the stage for their historic launch. This approval comes roughly 6 months after the SEC greenlit 11 spot Bitcoin ETFs, indicating a significant regulatory shift. Trading of the new Ether. ETFs began on Tuesday with remarkable activity. The Grayscale Ethereum Trust, ETHE, generated nearly half of the $1 billion total volume. Other notable performers included BlackRock's iShares Ethereum Trust and the Fidelity Ethereum Fund, which recorded $266 million and $204 million in inflows, respectively. On the second day of trading, the ETFs generated $937 million in volume, with Grayscale, BlackRock, and Fidelity leading again. However, there were $133.16 million in net outflows on Wednesday. On a negative note, the market has reacted quite negatively. On Wednesday, the price of ETH fell 8% and at the time of recording is trading below $3,200. On that day alone, there were $290 million worth of liquidations in the market. The price is now at a level similar to the one before the ETF approval was announced. The historic launch of spot ETFs in the U.S. coincides with concerns over Ethereum's growing supply. Since April, Ethereum's supply has risen to 120.2 million ETH, its highest level since November 2023, due to reduced ETH burning and declining Layer 1 activity. In the past 30 days alone, the supply increased by 59,312 ETH. This trend challenges the ultrasound money narrative, which suggests ETH could be deflationary. Despite this, the amount of staked ETH has reached a record 33.7 million, potentially mitigating selling pressure and supporting ETH prices. Kraken distributes Mt. Gox Bitcoin to creditors after a decade. For the first time in 10 years, some creditors of the now-defunct Mt. Gox exchange have received their Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. Crypto exchange Kraken announced on Tuesday that it has successfully distributed these digital assets from the Mt. Gox estate. Kraken CEO Dave Ripley wrote on X that it's been nearly a decade since Kraken was selected by the trustee to facilitate the investigation and return of client funds. It was our privilege and it was our duty. Something notable about these repayments is that they happened on the same day the Ethereum ETFs were launched in the US. Therefore, the market saw a bullish event, the ETFs, and a bearish one at roughly the same time. Kai-Young Ju, CEO of analytics firm CryptoQuant, observed on X that there was no significant spike in trading volume or Bitcoin outflows from Kraken immediately following the distributions. However, there was an increase in outflows during Asian trading hours. Bitstamp, another exchange involved in the restitution process, received $340.1 million worth of Bitcoin on Wednesday and is set to distribute more funds to creditors. The distribution marks a significant step in concluding the lengthy Mt. Gox saga, which began with the exchange's collapse in 2014. In related news, a wallet associated with the U.S. government transferred nearly $4 million in Bitcoin, seized from Silk Road vendor Ryan Ferris, to the crypto exchange Coinbase, likely indicating its intent to sell. Supporters can mint Vitalik documentary trailer to fund release. On Tuesday, the Unchained minting of the trailer for the documentary Vitalik, an Ethereum story, went live, inviting crypto enthusiasts to fund the decentralized release of the film in theaters and on streaming platforms. The documentary chronicles the last 3 years of Ethereum through the eyes of its co-founder, Vitalik Buterin, focusing on pivotal moments like the merge, which transitioned the network from proof of work to proof of stake. The film, part of the Ethereum story series, highlights significant events in the crypto space, such as the creation of Constitution DAO's bid to acquire a copy of the U.S. Constitution. What I hope is that this is the perfect time to be telling stories that are human in the space, because there's this big global spotlight on Ethereum, said director Zach Ingrasci. The documentary's world premiere is set for September 18th. Ingrasci emphasized the unique funding model, stating, "With the mint of this trailer, we can actually power the distribution of this film and series. That's so unique to the crypto space." The project has already raised over 1,036 ETH, around $3.2 million, through a crowdfund, supported by more than 660 contributors. DYDX considers selling derivatives trading software. Meanwhile, Hashdex filed an S1 registration with the SEC for an ETF that will initially hold Bitcoin and Ether, with the potential to also include other assets, pending regulatory approval. Decentralized finance platform DYDX is negotiating the sale of its DYDX V3 derivatives trading software to a group of prominent crypto market makers, including Wintermute and Selene Capital, according to a Bloomberg report. The deal, advised by Perella Weinberg Partners, aims to transfer the software for an undisclosed amount, according to sources familiar with the matter. Launched in 2017, DYDX allows users to trade perpetual futures contracts for various cryptocurrencies. The platform transitioned to its own blockchain with the V4 software last year, though the V3 version remains popular due to its high liquidity and low slippage for large transactions. Shortly after the news broke, DYDX reported a security breach on its V3 website, advising users to avoid clicking on any links until further notice. This incident does not affect the V4 platform. Hours later, the team noted on X that the issue was resolved. Swan Bitcoin cancels IPO plans. Swan Bitcoin has scrapped its plans to go public and is shutting down its managed mining division, leading to layoffs in various departments. CEO Corey Clipston announced that due to the lack of expected revenue from the mining unit, the company had to abandon its IPO. He noted on X that Swan is scaling back its spending on core financial services, which regrettably includes staff reductions. Despite these hurdles, other mining companies such as Genesis Digital Assets and Northern Data are still aiming to go public. Previously, Swan's mining unit operated with 160 megawatts of computing power and secured over $100 million from institutional investors, including stablecoin issuer Tether. Now, the firm will concentrate on offering Bitcoin-related financial services and educational resources. BlockFi finalizes FTX creditor distributions. Defunct crypto lender BlockFi has completed the sale of its FTX claims, significantly exceeding their face value. This transaction, finalized with an undisclosed third party, will facilitate the final distribution of 100% of eligible customer and general unsecured creditor claims in fiat terms. BlockFi plan administrator Mohsin Y. Megji reported the sale to the U.S. Bankruptcy Court, noting that the sale process, which began on June 24th, concluded on July 10th with the best possible bid. The substantial recovery from the sale enables BlockFi to wind down its operations and distribute funds to creditors sooner than anticipated. The final distributions will commence very soon, with fiat claims managed by Kroll and digital disbursements, and in-kind crypto distributions to be processed via Coinbase. Jito unveils open-source restaking service for Solana. On Thursday, the Jito Foundation released an open-source codebase for staking and restaking on the Solana network. This service, the first of its kind for Solana, allows any protocol to use different assets for economic security. Restaking enables blockchain networks to leverage the value of staked assets as collateral in order to maintain network integrity. Jito's new code aims to facilitate this for any Solana-based application, termed as actively validated service. Unlike EigenLayer's Ethereum-based restaking, which limits collateral to ETH and certain derivatives, Jito's code permits using any crypto asset to secure AVSs. Aave token jumps on proposal for new tokenomics. The price of Aave, the governance token for the largest decentralized finance lending protocol, surged 10% on Thursday, following a new governance proposal aimed at updating its tokenomics and hitting a 2-year high in the amount borrowed. The proposal suggests a roadmap for implementing a fee switch for staked Aave, turning it into a liquidity sink to collect rewards from protocol revenue. If approved, the new buy and distribute program will purchase Aave from secondary markets to distribute to the ecosystem reserve, creating consistent demand for Aave assets. The proposal will be open for community feedback before moving to a snapshot vote. And that's all. Thanks so much for joining us today. If you enjoyed this recap, go to unchainedcrypto.substack.com, that is unchainedcrypto.substack.com, and sign up for our free newsletter so that you can stay up to date with the latest in crypto. Unchained is produced by Laura Shin, with help from Matt Pilchard, Juan Aronovich, Megan Gavis, Pam Majumdar, and Margaret Correa. The weekly recap was written by Juan Aronovich and edited by Nelson Wang. Thanks for listening.
Unchained is now a part of the CoinDesk Podcast Network. For the latest in digital assets, check out Markets Daily, 5 days a week, with host Noel Atchison. Follow the CoinDesk Podcast Network for some of the best shows in crypto.